Francis Weller. Nearly 25 Brunswick Community College students are now in limbo after learning their EMS program, which some of them were close to graduating in, was abruptly put on pause. WECT's J.C. Caldwell spent the day talking with some of those students and shows us the problem they're now facing.
Many college students take a while to really figure out what they want to do as a career.
We did trauma day with the nurses here at the college.
For Elizabeth Yates, she already knows. She started in the EMS program here at Brunswick Community College back in January, excited for the future.
My ultimate goal is to actually be a flight paramedic.
But after a text from a classmate earlier this week, she says her future is now code red.
She said classes are canceled, very sudden out of nowhere.
She's not the only one now off duty. Evan Peach is an EMS student too, who was dispatched to the news in a similar way.
For the first few hours, I was still kind of in denial.
According to a spokesperson for the college, the EMS program is temporarily suspended. I asked why and wasn't given an answer, but a statement reading in part, quote, "We are working diligently to resume this program for our students. We will update you as soon as we have more information," end quote. Peach and Yates weren't given a reason why either, so I did some digging. I found Chip Munna's Facebook page. He's the EMS director at the college. On his page, it shows he stopped being the director back on May 18th. I also saw a recent Facebook post of his addressing the sudden suspension of the program. He says it was, quote, due to non-compliance with state requirements, end quote. WECT has not been able to verify that independently. With all that in mind, though, I submitted a public records request to get a copy of Munna's employee file, including HR records, to learn more. I even tried contacting Munna multiple times and never got a response.
We had a mock mass casualty event.
But regardless of why the program is on hold, the consequences of it for these students are devastating.
I was about one clinical and a scenario away from getting my advanced EMT, which would have made me a little bit more desirable looking for other jobs.
I'm still shocked. I'm disappointed, and we're also having huge financial burdens because of this, because now we have to pay for a whole new program.
Leaving them now wondering what they're gonna do.
Nobody knows when they're gonna actually graduate.
This all comes after a recent report showing a major paramedic shortage in North Carolina. It shows that there's a 20 to 30% annual turnover rate, and many places rely on graduates to fill those gaps. Reporting in Brunswick County, J.C. Caldwell, WECT News.